morning, dear student. Today's new topic is this pollen grain or structure of pollen grain and formation of pollen grain. So we are going to study about pollen grain. Okay. So as we know that our pollen grain, you know all of what do you mean by pollen grain. So how can we define this pollen grain? Very simply, or we can say the pollen grain is the best defined as it's partially developed male gametophyte. Okay, what do you mean by pollen grain? It is nothing but the partially developed male gametophyte. Okay, that is the definition, true definition of this pollen grain. Okay, pollen grain vary in shape. Pollen grains may vary in shape. Okay, it's a vary in shape. It has many shapes. Okay, but it generally is round, or we can say spherical in shape. Round, or we can say spherical in shape, and its size is near about 25 to 30 micrometer, right? So what is this? Pollen grains is nothing but partially developed gametophyte. It has many shapes. It's vary in different plants. Okay, so pollen grain vary in shapes. It's variety in shapes, but it's generally round or spherical in shape, and the size generally 25 to 30 micrometer. Then pollen grain, it's a haploid, right? Pollen grain generally haploid. It is unicellular body. It is a unicellular body. It is a single cell and with a single nucleus. Okay, single cells with a single nucleus. It means a uninucleated. We can call it. It's called as uninucleated. Okay. This pollen grains has two walls. Okay, already we studied the structure. Okay, again I will draw the structure. Here I will draw. So this structure of pollen grain, this is exine, outer wall, this is intine. Okay, now this has generative cells. This is called as vegetative cells, or it's called as tube cells. So here it has an irregular nucleus with a large number of vacuoles. It means it has a reserve food. Okay. This is nothing but the cytoplasm. So this is the structure of pollen grain. Now you can see. So here you can see this two-layer wall, one outer and one inner. Okay, so you can see like that this pollen grain has two layer wall. Okay, so this wall is also known as sporodrum. Okay, alternative name of wall is called as sporodrum. This sporodrum consists of two layers. Okay, one is called as outer layer and one is called as inner layer. So the outer layer, okay, it's very thick. You can say it's very thick and rough, and this outer layer is called as exine. Okay, you can see this outermost layer, it's very thick and it's very rough, that's why it's called as exine. Whereas inside this exine one more layer is there, that is called inner layer, that is very thin. Okay, it's very smooth also and elastic in nature, that layer, okay, is known as intine. Okay, now you can see this outer layer exine is made up of complex substance. That complex substance is known as sporopollenin. Okay, this is a complex structure. Okay, with the help of that complex structure, this external wall, outer layer of this sporodrum of pollen grains are made. Now this sporopollenin, okay, what is the role of that or what is the function of that? So it protects the pollen grain from physical, chemical and biological degradation, or we can say decomposition. Okay, so it protects from, here I am writing, protect from chemical, biological and physical degradation, or we can call as decomposition. Okay, that is the first function of the sporopollen. Second is that it also possesses protein. It also contains, that sporopollen is also contain protein, and that protein is necessary for enzymatic reaction or compatibility reactions. Okay, so that protein it's contained, that is responsible for, here I am writing you, enzymatic and compatibility reactions. Okay, apart from that, one more function of this sporopollenin is that this sporopollenin can withstand, okay, high temperature, withstand on high temperature, strong acid and alkali, strong acid as well as strong alkali. Okay, and it no enzyme, along with that no enzyme can degrade the sporopollenin. No enzyme degrades sporopollenin. Okay, that is significance of this sporopollenin, and that sporopollenin help in the formation of outer layer of this pollen grain. Okay, now come to this inner layer. So here it is made up of sporopollenin, outer layer, and this inner layer is made up of pectin and cellulose. Okay, together we call as pectocellulose. Pectocellulose. Okay, so here the outer layer is made up of sporopollenin, whereas the inner layer is made up of pectin, or it's also known as it's pectin as well as cellulose, and together its name is called as pectocellulose. Now you can see this exine. I am talking about this outermost layer first. Okay, now this exine it's again differentiated. Here I am writing this exine is again differentiated into inner and outer layer. Okay, so inner is called as endexine. Okay, and outer is known as ecdexine. Here I am writing. Okay, these two. So inner end, inside, is an endexine, and outer is called as ecdexine. Okay, it is present outer side of this exine. Now this ecdexine is further divided into three, that is called as inner, middle and outermost layer. Okay, so divided in three parts, that is inner, middle and outermost. Okay, so this inner is just like its continuous foot layer. Inner layer is just like it's a continuous foot layers, just like that. Okay, that. And this middle one, okay, it is discontinuous baculate layer. It's called as, middle layer is called as, it is generally is not continuous, it's a discontinuous it's a baculate layer. And where last is called as outermost layer. That outermost layer is also discontinuous, but it is a tectum. Okay, this outermost layer is a discontinuous, it's a tectum. Okay, so now this tectum, it aids identification of this pollen grain. If the tectum is present, it means this is the pollen grain. It is used for the identification of a pollen grain. And this tectum is also assigned them to their family, genus and species to the particular plant. With the help of tectum, or with this tectum is assigned their family, genus and species. Okay, so here I am repeating this. You know this outer layer, this called as exine. Now this exine again have inner and outer, differentiated into inner endexine and outer ecdexine. But this outer ecdexine again distinguished between or further divided into inner continuous foot layer, middle discontinuous baculate layer, and the outermost discontinuous tectum. And this tectum play a significant role in the identification of this pollen grain. Okay, not only tectum layer is used for the identification of this pollen grain, but also this tectum is assigned them, okay, to their family, genus and species. Alright, so as we know that inner and outer layer, right? So again you can see these pollen grains contain a region of pore, or we can, yes, I'm telling you, you can see this stuff. Okay. Now this pollen grain contain a region of pores, or you can follow. First of all I will draw a diagram so you can understand very well with the help of that. Okay. This is the structure of pollen grain. That structure. In this way I am drawing, so you can understand it very well. So here you can see this pollen grain contains so many regions are there, regions of pores, okay, or you can see that furrow. This is called as furrows, and that is called as, means it is called as germinal furrows, okay, and it's called as germ pore, okay. So you can see here this pollen grain contain a region where the pores or furrows are occurred. So in this region exine is absent. Where the pore is present, suppose it is present, so here the exine is absent. यानी जहाँ एक्साइन एब्सेंट रहता है, जहाँ एक्साइन नहीं रहता है, वहाँ पे क्या रहता है, जर्म पोर्स रहते हैं, नहीं तो फरोज, जर्मिनल फरोज रहते हैं. So in that you can see when this area are circular, you can see these areas are circular, okay, so they are called as germ pore, okay. If the area is circular, then is called as germ pores, okay. When this area are elongated, you can see this elongated area, okay. If this area is elongated, that elongated area are called as elongated area is called as germ furrows, the germinal furrows. Understood? Now, so during pollen germination, what will happen? You already studied, know this diagram. This is pollen and this intine of this pollen grain, they form a pollen tube, right? Again I am pollen tube. This is intine, this is stine. Understood? We already studied in microsporogenesis. So during a pollen germination, what will happen? It is a intine, right? This intine that extend out in the form of pollen tube, okay. Initially the pollen grain, you know that it is a unicellular. I already discussed with you. It is unicellular and it is a uninucleated, okay. But at maturity, once it mature, what is this? This is nothing but the pollen grain, okay. So initially the pollen grain is unicellular and uninucleate. It has one nucleus. That's why, and it's unicellular. That's why it is called as unicellular uninucleated, okay. But once at this maturity level, this pollen grain is divided by mitotically, or it undergo mitotic cell division to form two haploid cells, okay. Which type of two haploid cells? You can see these two unequal haploid cells, okay. One is large cell, second is small cell. So large cell is called as tube cell, that we already know that, or it's also known as vegetative cell, and small cell is known as generative cells, okay. Now this vegetative cells, you can see this vegetative cells has this tube cells, or vegetative cells have tube nuclei. It has tube nucleus, and this vegetative cells contain fat, starch, protein are present in this vegetative cells, and this generative cells have generative nucleus. It has tube nucleus, it has generative nucleus, but along with that this vegetative cells contain fat, starch and protein, okay. Now This generative nucleus, you can see here, this generative nucleus eventually divide mitotically. Again they divide nucleus. It's undergo mitosis, okay, and to form two non-motile male gametes. Okay, so here you can see this is known as large cell. Large cell is the tube cells. Okay, tube cells have one nucleus, that is called as tube nucleus. You can see this small one. Okay, I use another pen. You can this one, that is called as small cells, that is called as generative cells, and this generative cells contain small nucleus, that is called as generative nucleus. This nucleus undergoes mitotic cell division to form a two non-motile male gametes. Okay, so here the cytoplasm of the pollen grain, again whatever the cytoplasm is present in this pollen grain, that cytoplasm, I am talking about the cytoplasm of the pollen grain. It is rich in starch and unsaturated oil. What cytoplasms of pollen grain is rich in starch as well as unsaturated soil. So they are initially uninucleated, but later the pollen grain it's become two, or we can say three celled pollen grain. Okay, we already discussed in microsporogenesis. Initially they are uninucleated, unicellular, but later on they have two or three cells converted into two or three cells pollen grain. Okay, in few examples, just like I'm giving you, that's called as, I think so, it's called as calotropes. Okay, calotropes. In calotropes, and one more example is orchids. You know that in orchids, in calotropes and orchids, calotropes is means रुई, जैसे क्या कहते हैं रुई in Marathi and madar in Hindi, right? And orchids, you know, orchid flowers. So in calotropes and orchid, okay, the pollen of each anther lobe is formed, okay, as a characteristic is in the form of mass. It means in these two plant, pollen grains are present in the form of pollinium, and we know that what do you mean by pollinium? Pollinium is nothing but the mass of the pollen grain present in each anther lobe. Okay, and its stick and it's transferred by a pollinating agent rendered insect. So it acts as a one unit, and this whole unit get transferred into the stigma of another flower. Right? Now this pollen grain can be, now next point, that is called as, this pollen grain can be divided into on the basis of germ pores. Pollen grains can divide it on the basis of germ pore. Okay, if it has one, then it's called as monoclopate. It means it has one germ pore. Okay, if it has two, then it's called as it's on a biclopate. Okay, if germ pores are three, then it's called as triclopate. Okay, fine. If they have three germs layer, then it's called as triclopate. If they have two germs layer, then it's called as biclopate. And if you have one germs layer, then it's called as monoclopate. And what is the study of pollen grain? The branch that deal with the study of pollen grain, that is called as palynology. Okay, so the branch of biology which deal with the study of pollen grain only. Okay, that branch of biology is known as palynology. Okay, so this is all about the pollen grain. So what we in short we studied the two layers of, and just wind up this in very short. We study that the pollen grain has two layers, that is called as extine and intine, right? Extine is made up of sporopollenae, right? It is more resistant to the organic matter is known, and it withstand with a high temperature, strong acid and alkali, and the no enzyme can degrade the sporopollen. Where this intine is very thin and it's a continuous layer, and it's made up of cellulose and pectin. That's why it is known as pectocellulose. Okay, and the plasma membrane surround the cytoplasm of this pollen grain. Once the pollen grain matured, so it consists of two cells with a nucleus. We studied and just summarize all these things. Okay, so two cells with this nucleus. What these two cells? One is vegetative, another is generative. Okay, so here the vegetative. Okay, V for vegetative, G for generative. So vegetative cells, you know, it is bigger, it has abundant what? Food reserve. Okay, it has we can see it's a large nucleus, and it's responsible for development of pollen grain. Vegetative is responsible for vegetative cell is responsible for development of pollen grain. Understood? But here the generative cells, it's very small. Okay, it involves synegamy. What do you mean by synegamy? Fuse with the egg. This is fused with this egg, right? Then it has dense cytoplasm and nucleus, right? Then yes, so this is all about the pollen grain. Thank you. Good morning, dear student. Today's we are discuss about pollen product, pollen viability and pollen allergy, right? So first we will start. In previous lecture we study pollen grain, structure of pollen grain, what it has. Okay, so now we are going to study about pollen products. Okay, so this pollen products, it's made up of pollen grains, and that pollen, it's used as a pollen food supplement. So first it acts as a pollen products is used as a pollen food supplements. Okay, so here these pollen grains contain abundant amount of carbohydrates, along with that it also contains unsaturated fat. Now these are two pollen grains product are available in the form of pollen food supplements. Okay, that generally contain abundant amount of carbohydrate and saturated fats. Nowadays they are used in the form of tablets or in the form of syrups. They are available in the form of tablets as well as in the form of syrups. And what is the function of the they enhancing this vital body functions. They use for enhancing vital body function. Okay. Now this pollen consumptions increases the performance. What is the need of that? What is the need of that pollen food supplement? So it enhances or it increases performance of the human being. Performance. Okay. So, and these are generally used by athletics, and it not only it's given to athletics, it's also given to the race horses. Okay, so these are the pollen product. Again, it means if they are in the form of pollen food supplement, if they are present in the form of pollen cream, okay, they are available. These pollen products are available in two forms. It's pollen food supplement, and second is that it available in the form of pollen creams. Okay, now here the pollen grain protect from ultraviolet radiations, or it protect our skin from ultraviolet radiation. That's why they are used in the creams. Not only that, it's also used in emulsion, okay, for providing smoothness. This cream and emulsion, it's providing smoothness, also protection to the skin, also give protection to skin. That is the motive of pollen cream. Okay, so in short I am telling you once again what pollen cream, pollen products, right? So pollen products prepared from pollen grains, and they are available in two forms, that is a pollen food supplement, second is a pollen cream. The first pollen food supplements are highly rich in carbohydrate and saturated fats. These pollen food supplements are available in the form of tablet as well as in the form of syrup. And what is the need of that pollen supplement? This help in vital functioning of our body. Okay, they enhance the capacity of a vital functioning of our body. Okay, not only that, it also increases the performance of an individual. Okay, so that's why they are generally used by athletics. Okay, not only used by the athletics, they are also given, this pollen food supplements also given to the horses, race horses, right? Then second, it's called as pollen cream. The pollen cream, what is the main function of this pollen cream? It protects from ultraviolet radiations of the ultraviolet radiations of the sun. So it's available in the form of creams. It's also available in the form of emulsion. And what is the main motive or principle of that? It's providing the smoothness to the skin. Not only it's providing the smoothness to the skin, but also it's gives the protection from the UV ultraviolet radiations. It protects our skin from this ultraviolet radiations. Next we will see that's called as pollen viability. Okay, what do you mean by pollen viability? You know what do you mean by viability? Yes, anyone know that? It means functional. Viability is mean functional. Okay, so viability. So pollen viability. So how can we define this pollen viability? Pollen viability is nothing but the period. Yes, it is a period for which pollen grain remains viable. Okay, or viable is nothing but it's remain functional. Pollen grain remains functional. Okay, that period is known as pollen viability. Okay, and this pollen viability is generally it's depend on temperature and humidity. These two factors on which the pollen viabilities depend. Then this pollen grains remain viable. It remains remains viable for 30 minutes only. They means pollen grain are functional only for 30 minutes, and this pollen grain can be cryopreserved. Okay, cryopreserved in one solution. That solution is called as liquid nitrogen. Okay, at the temperature of minus 196 degree centigrade, and this is, if it is cryopreserved, then it's called as, and this is used as a pollen bank. Understood? So what do you mean by pollen bank? This pollen grain can be cryopreserved in one solution with chemical that is called liquid nitrogen at the temperature of minus 196 degrees Celsius. Okay, so these pollen grains are used as a pollen bank. Now next topic is called as pollen allergy. This is commonly general topic, and we know that. So what it means? The pollen grain produce very severe allergy. It's very dangerous. It's produce very severe allergy, and because of that it causes a fever. Okay, not only fever, respiratory tract infection also they cause, just like they cause asthma. Another respiratory tract infection is that has bronchitis. Okay, these are few disease, respiratory tract infections are caused by this pollen grain. Okay, you know carrot grass. Their scientific name of that carrot grass is Parthenium hysterophorus, right? The hysterophorus is a scientific name of carrot grass, and this is a major source of pollen grain. This is only and only the major source of pollen allergy. Okay, so it also causes harm to the internal body organ. Not only it is responsible for pollen allergy, but it causes very severe, very harmful effect on our internal body organ. And it was introduced in India along with this that imported wheat. Okay, जब ये कब इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ इंडिया में? जब imported wheat का ये हुआ इंट्रोडक्शन, so उसके साथ ही इस carrot grass का इंट्रोड्यूस हुआ. But it has so many problems that so internal, they affects our internal body organ. Not only that, they cause many fevers. They are again responsible for respiratory tract infections like asthma and bronchitis. So this is about the pollen energy. Okay, so now we discuss the polar products, polar viability and polar energy. Okay, thank you.